Welcome to Indiana Public Broadcasting's coverage of the 2025 State of the State Address. This is Governor Mike Braun's first address to a joint session of the Indiana General Assembly, just 2 weeks after he was sworn into office. The Republican will discuss his agenda for the 2025 session, including his plan to significantly reduce property taxes, a plan that would save homeowners more than $1 billion a year while costing schools more than $500 million in funding. There aren't likely to be any surprises in Braun's speech. He's discussed his agenda and budget proposal often in the last several weeks. His address will likely focus on making the case to lawmakers on why his plans are the right way forward. It's the 2025 State of the State Address from the Indiana House Chamber at the State House in Indianapolis.
Well, the joint session of Article 5 of the Indiana State Constitution, the Indiana General Assembly is convened for the purpose of hearing a message from the governor. He will be escorted by Representative Starwald, Representative Thompson, Representative Burton, and Representative Dan Chester. So, ladies and gentlemen of the House and Senate, distinguished guests, it is now my high honor and privilege to introduce Indiana's 52nd governor, Governor Mike Braun.
Well, before I start my formal speech, it is good to be back in this chamber. Remember, I spent 3 years here, so sat right back in that section. So, President Pro Tem Bray, Speaker Houston, Lieutenant Governor Beckwith, Chief Justice Altas, Chief Justice Rush, members of the General Assembly, honored guests, and most importantly, Maureen and family. And my fellow Hoosiers, it's a real honor to address you here all tonight. Every year, for the last 6 years, I've had the privilege of visiting each of Indiana's 92 counties. Met thousands of Hoosiers on their farms, in their small businesses, their schools, their churches, and their homes. Not everyone I met has had an easy time these last few years. Many families were barely holding their heads above water as prices just kept rising. Despite all of that, what comes through most clearly when listening to Hoosiers is our resilience, our optimism, and a shared desire to make our state truly great, and I love that. And I'm happy to say, with all those travels, the state of the state is strong because Hoosiers are strong. In my inaugural address, my message was that our state is at a crossroads. Indiana does many things well, but the question we face, in my mind, is simple. Will that be a plateau or a foundation to build something truly exceptional? When I had to make that decision, it was clear to me this was a golden opportunity. I put out my freedom and opportunity agenda because I believe Indiana should be a national model for bold, innovative leadership. The positive reception to that plan has been overwhelming, and in November, Hoosiers sent a resounding message that freedom and opportunity is what they I believe the work of this legislature has put us in a position to achieve great things if we seize the opportunity and act decisively. Tonight, I'm going to outline the wins my administration has already secured for Hoosiers and legislation we can pass now to make life better for the people we have the honor to serve. And we're going to do that with your help. Hoosiers have been hurting from high prices, said that earlier. I'm proud that my budget continues the historic efforts of past governors in this General Assembly to keep reducing the income tax burden on Hoosiers. Indiana's led the way and want to find new ways to continue delivering historic tax relief. Too many seniors and young families are getting priced out of their homes due to runaway property taxes. I heard it for 2 years on end. There are stories all over the state of Hoosiers struggling with huge hikes in their property tax bills. Janice's bill in Mooresville went up 44% since 2021. Grant in Plainfield saw his bill go up 32% in that same time. Sean and Kimberly's bill in Martinsville increased nearly 50%. And here with us tonight are Rob and Stephanie from Greenwood. They lived in the same house. Bill has more than doubled. And that's shameful and it's not sustainable. Skyrocketed in Rob's words from $715 a year to over $1,500. Hoosiers from all over the state told me these tax bills keep rising, but wages aren't keeping relief. Thank you for being here. My plan is built on 3 priorities. Cut property taxes for Hoosier families, especially new homeowners and seniors, the most vulnerable for not being able to pay that big increase. Cap the annual increase to protect homeowners, farmers, and businesses, and reform the system through transparency. And when you talk about a cap, I'm not asking for something terribly difficult. It's a cap that would probably never even reach the amount of economic growth that we experience when it's a robust economy. So there's plenty of room there to make sure that we exercise good judgment and don't be overbearing to the taxpayer. It'll have an impact on local governments, and I realize that. Struggling, and we have to put their needs first, just like the example I set with my budget proposal. All governments need to do more with a little less. We will continue to have important discussions with local governments, school boards about how to protect vital services like police, fire, and schools. But believe me, if we run this place well, find it. I served on a school board for 10 years. I know how important that is in each one of our communities. Senator Travis Holdman introduced our Freedom and Opportunity Property Tax Relief Bill. I look forward to working with all of you to get this bill across the finish line. Hoosiers sent me here with a clear directive that this cannot be ignored. And while we're at it, let's give seniors on a fixed income some more breathing room with tax relief on their retirement income. What do you think about that? For farmers, and so many of us are in agricultural communities, let's create a tax-advantaged farm savings account to help stabilize their income during bad crop years, and let's address our aging ag workforce with a tax credit for retiring farmers passing their farms on to the next generation. They need that help. Raising kids is expensive, and all across the state, parents are making tough choices at the kitchen table to make ends meet. Every Hoosier family and business had to tighten their belts over the last 4 years. It's time that our government does the same thing, and I'm going to help you all accomplish that. We can always find ways to run more efficiently. All of us were forced with that back in 08 and 09. Where you thought you couldn't, you found out a way to do it. And my vision is a streamlined, accountable, responsible government that keeps more money in your pocket and empowers the private sector to innovate and grow. We're already taking action to make our government more efficient and accountable to the people. I directed my agency leaders to find cuts in their departments and signed a directive to cut at least a quarter of government regulations. Those stack up over time and sometimes are more painful than taxes that are too high. So I'm asking you to do that. We replace the political DEI ideology with a level playing field of MEI. I know it's been a sensitive subject. Merit, excellence, and innovation. Diversity. Diversity and equality are hallmarks of what we all believe as a country. But these top-down DEI approaches and mandates led to division and inefficiency. And ahead with hard work. My agenda is about delivering freedom and opportunity for all Hoosiers. I did direct state employees to come back to the office to improve productivity and collaboration. Come back into work, please. Created a new cabinet structure that's designed to run like a business. It adds a new level of accountability. My new cabinet organizes the executive offices, each led by an entrepreneurial secretary that reports directly to me. This improvement aligns agencies for more accountability, promotes more collaboration between agencies, and creates a clear chain of command so great ideas can get to me no matter where they start. And I think that's another dynamic that takes us to a new horizon. I know it works. I ran a company like that, giving big latitude to energetic employees. They'd bring me good ideas all the time. That same analog can be here in government. Tonight, I'm inviting legislators to work with me to identify opportunities for efficiency, and many of you have already done it, and I thank you for it. You were texting me 6 to 8 months ago, and I knew you were eager to do some of these things in our own government. Together, we'll create a more accountable and responsive state government, and you can count on that. We're also taking action to protect Hoosiers with the Freedom and Opportunity Public Safety Agenda. We need to have living adjustments and more comprehensive benefits. They put it out there on the line every day, and we need to make sure they're well paid and they're wanting to come in to that job, and I'm going to try to make sure that we get that right too, and across other law enforcement agencies as well. A major freedom and opportunity public safety bill written by Senator Aaron Freeman passed out of committee yesterday, 8-1 on a bipartisan vote. This bill increases penalties on fentanyl and meth dealers, raises the price for targeting police, the consequences, and adds mandatory minimum bail for repeat violent offenders. Americans sent a clear message in November. They do not want open borders. Indiana will do whatever we can to help secure our southern border and end this crisis. Unchecked illegal immigration brings serious risks to our communities. In September, an illegal alien stabbed a 14-year-old girl with a butcher knife in a random attack in Lowell. Let me be clear. Indiana will not be a safe haven for illegal immigration. To return illegal aliens with criminal records to their home countries, we will assist. A state should always put the safety of its own citizens first. I think we can all agree on that. On economic development, we're taking a new approach, focused on building skills for Hoosiers currently in the workforce to match high-value, high-wage jobs that employers need to fill. One way we'll achieve this is our Hoosier Workforce Investment Tax Credit. Employers will have a strong incentive to invest in employee skills, training, and development. We're structuring the Indiana Economic Development Corporation to spread the benefits of economic development programs across the state and expanding their mission to focus on existing employers and building on what other. And I love this one. We're creating an Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation focused on Main Street entrepreneurs backed by their family, friends, and communities, not just businesses backed by venture capital. Maureen and I lived the American dream of starting a homegrown business in our hometown of Jasper, moved back there to do that and raise a family, been blessed beyond measure. I want every Hoosier to have the opportunity to live that dream as well. All of you know I've harped on this. I remember the first thing I did when I got here as a naive legislator. Thought that I could get things through committee and could take on the healthcare industry. Well, that was a hill too steep to climb then. But since then, fixed it in my own business literally 17 years ago. Don't have time to go into that now. Any of you not had a premium increase in the last 17 years? Well, maybe come check that out. I'll tell you how that can work. It can be done. Tonight are wondering how they're going to pay for the care they need. Far too long, this issue has been seen as too tough to tackle because of entrenched special interests. Hoosiers pay some of the highest health care costs in the country, but we don't get the best health care results in return. Based on experience taking on this issue in my own business, as I referred to, I developed my Freedom and Opportunity health care plan to lower prices, improve access, and promote innovation in the industry. Signed several executive orders to pull back the curtain on health care prices, bring down costs. I directed our state agencies to bring full price transparency to health care services so Hoosiers are empowered to shop around with clear, upfront prices. When providers compete, prices drop. I directed our agencies to address the misaligned incentives causing high drug prices, like pharmacy benefit managers or PBMs. I'm so rambunctious, I didn't even stop for an applause line. So, we're also leading comprehensive audits to find waste and abuse in our own state health care spending. And I think that's going to be picking some low-hanging fruit. But we need legislative action, in the General Assembly has shown a strong desire to get results. Thank you. I can tell you it's going to be a difficult struggle to do that in the place I just came from. But the state that figures that out, and hopefully with the help from the folks in the business, is going to be the best way to prevent it from getting even worse. And that is something most have never taken on, and I feel that we can do it, and I'll show you a few examples of what's already in motion. State Rep Brad Barrett introduced House Bill 1003, a bill that will require historic price transparency, stop anti-competitive practices driving up prices, and put an end to surprise billings. I've not met one person that likes a surprise medical bill. Have you? No. With us tonight is Melissa from Ossian up near Fort Wayne. After Melissa got a yearly physical, routine blood work, she was shocked to get a bill for $1,348. Anybody would be. She had good insurance, always paid the $35 copay for testing or yearly checkups, spent hours on the phone with insurers who would say it's covered, and a provider who would tell her, work with the insurance company. Sound familiar? Well, that ended up being a $305 bill that should have been probably a third of that, and it didn't feel right that that was a good resolution. Melissa, it shouldn't feel right. We're going to try to fix that. Hoosiers ought to be able to see what they're going to have to pay before they receive care. And a medical bill like that should never come as a surprise. And reveal prices, fight health care and fraud, and finally end surprise billing once and for all. And thank you, Melissa, for speaking out and advocating for lower health care prices for all. And more of you need to do that, and I appreciate it. Another bill that will protect Hoosiers is Senate Bill 3, authored by Senator Justin Bush, which mandates that third-party administrators for health insurance plans have a fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of the plan sponsor. State Rep Martin Carball's House Bill 1004 will make sure nonprofit hospitals actually act like nonprofits. Senator Ed Charbonneau and State Rep Julie McGuire are leading the charge on PBM reform. Thank you all for your leadership, bringing down health care costs, improving outcomes for Hoosiers. Reforming this industry shouldn't be a partisan issue, and we should all be for it. Do you agree with me on that? This morning, in the nation's report card, we were in the middle of the pack, but now Indiana is ranked 6th in the nation in reading. That's excellent progress and a strong foundation to build on. That is wonderful news. I was a school board member for 10 years, and I'll never forget how I got on it. My wife has been so involved in our community, and she thought she would be the better prospect. And I could hear the conversation, and she said, finally wrapping it up, Bernie, I've told you politely I can't do it, but maybe my husband would be interested. That's how I got on the school board. Life in the public arena. Get on the school board, and you'll see if you're cut out for it. So. Did it for 10 years. It's so important. It's half our budget, another 15% on post-secondary, so we got to get it right. And I know the challenges our schools face. Everything I do on this issue will always be based on one simple idea. I like simple principles. Parents are in charge of their own kids' education. Let's put parents in the driver's seats and kids with universal school choice. And thank all of you for mostly getting us there already, so kudos. My budget proposal has a plan to get it done, and with your help, we'll win this historic victory for Hoosier parents and kids. Let's increase teacher base pay to attract and keep great teachers. My approach is going to be to take a system that's grown expensive, heard the figure that the cost, everything that goes into building the structure, and then most importantly, staffing it with somebody that's going to be a great instructor. And we do not put near enough into the classroom, and it's going to be a task for me to find how to take cost out of administration, out of buildings that we may not need quite as deluxe as they get built, and put it into the pocketbooks of teachers and instructors. Senate Bill 146, authored by Senator Linda Rogers, will raise the minimum salary for public school teachers by $5,000, make sure 55% of the tuition is going to support teachers. So that's going to be a good place to start. We need to get that across the finish line. Let's pass House Bill 1637, authored by State Rep Steve Bartels, which establishes the Office of School Safety, called for in my Freedom and Opportunity agenda to protect kids. And we can't forget that education is also workforce development. There are programs around the state where students can get hands-on training in manufacturing skills, get engaged with Indiana companies that are up hiring now, and even earn some money. Tonight in the audience, we have two instructors from the 4T Academy program in Southern Indiana, Rick Gilmore from Princeton Community High, Gabe Golba from Bosse High School. This program is a partnership between high schools and Toyota, and students have launched good paying careers directly from the class. 38 4T Academy students have been hired by Toyota in production roles, and 15 started careers in advanced manufacturing. This is a model we should replicate across the state. Rick, Gabe, thank you for your work to teach real-world skills. Indiana's future depends on how we educate the next generation. We've got great teachers. We've basically got a good system. We're going to put innovation into it, and that is so important because, like I say, it dominates most of our budget. So we're getting close here to wrapping it up, and for me, this has been a journey that's taken some twists and turns along the way. When you go from school board to state house to the big house and back, you better have learned a little bit along the way. And my message to my partners in the General Assembly on both sides of the aisle, and Reddy had so many discussions, I hope I don't wear you out, is I want your collaboration. We were all elected by Hoosiers to get the job done, to get results. The question we face is simple. Will we treat this moment as a plateau, which I mentioned earlier, or as a foundation to build something truly exceptional? Now is the time to be bold and think out of the box. We can do it through big ideas, collaboration, and above all, action. Thank you, and God bless this great state of Indiana.
Thank you, members of the House and the Senate. This joint convention is now adjourned.
Thank you for joining Indiana Public Broadcasting's coverage of the 2025 State of the State Address from the Indiana House Chamber in Indianapolis. The spotlight now shines on the General Assembly, where lawmakers will work on their agendas and the governor's as part of their long budget writing session, which is set to end in late April. IPB News will bring you daily coverage of the inner workings at the State House on the topics that matter most to Hoosiers.